Hello and welcome to episode 34 of the Weighing Room, where today I'm joined by Frankie Foster and Paul Callaghan, as usual, to go through the best of the racing this weekend. Frankie, we'll start with you. What a 5 days it was at Ascot last week. Any highlights for yourself?
God, racing. I mean, I went up there Thursday, Friday. Thursday, I kept it very steady. I actually quite enjoyed all the 2-yard races that I saw across the week. Stradivarius obviously wasn't meant to be a massive talking point. Still an exciting race. And then Friday, I backed a few winners, and by about the third race, I was betting at the bar rather than watching much more racing. But no, I thought it was a brilliant week, and the obvious Ryan MAUREEN and O'Brien combo delivered. I think we put up a few selections between the three of us across the week, which was nice as well. So, yeah, top class week, as it always is.
Yeah, I thought it was one of the best Royal Ascots for a while, obviously with COVID the years before. I just thought it was brilliant. And obviously for the most of it, everyone got the weather they wanted, didn't they? And I thought it was brilliant. Paul, any standouts for you across the week?
I suppose Baid winning on the Tuesday, won the Queen Anne Stakes on the equine front. I thought he was very good, and in the saddle, I thought Danny Tudhope probably found himself in a position that he mightn't have thought when challenging for the top jock position come the middle stages of the week. I thought he had a fantastic week, and is obviously a top class jock.
Yeah, definitely. I think the one thing for Danny Tudhope that stood out for me was that Holloway boy on the Saturday, a debutant winning the Chesham is something you don't see a lot, do you? And it's definitely a horse to look out for going forward. Anyway, chaps, we'll move on to what we're going to be talking about this week. And today we're going to be going through all the races live on ITV this weekend, coming up with our selections for the events at Newcastle with the Northumberland Plate, and also at Newmarket with the listed and group reaction across the card. We also have probably the feature racing of the weekend from the Curragh with the Irish Derby Festival, and we'll be looking at races on the Saturday and the Sunday. But we're going to start off at Newcastle in the 150 Pertemps Network handicap over 6 furlongs. And Paul, it looks a tricky one, doesn't it, to start us off?
Yeah, there's plenty of question marks over a number of these. Be Proud is interesting, bit of value for Paul Mulrennan, the ever reliable P. Mulrennan, teaming up with Jim Goldie. But the one I've come down with is the Charles Hills trained Tommy DeVito. Tom Marquand takes the mountain. Not ideally drawn and stalled 2 on the straight course at Newcastle. Generally, the higher numbers probably come up middle to stand side rail, and that does favour the high numbers. Tommy DeVito drawn and stalled 2 as a top man on his back. 2 starts at Newcastle have yielded a second place effort on debut, and then opened up his account at the second time of asking over 6 furlongs. That was back in January 2020. Was a beaten favourite on his last 2 starts, but both runs prior to that would give him as good a chance as any here, and he's round about the 14-1 mark. And at odds round about 14s, I'd be happy to invest. So Tommy DeVito for me.
Yeah, always worth a shot, isn't it, in a race like this with a double figure price. Frankie, who are you siding with in this one?
Strike Red. I'm just getting the card up now. I'm pretty sure it's still at the top of the market.
Yeah, still at the top of the market, yeah.
Yeah, Strike Red. Got to go back a little bit to find the last all-weather appearance, but we did win that day at Newcastle, and then it's just been improving on turf since. And I just quite like the way that if you start the kind of form line there on that win at Newcastle on the all-weather, and then you follow the progression on turf, coming back to the all-weather, back to Newcastle off a mark of just £4 higher. I think there's a bit of a difference in maybe what his mark's gone up versus how much this horse might have improved. So Strike Red, I think, is favourite, but that's where I'd be looking.
Yeah, I'm with the same with you, Frankie. When I looked at this, obviously I didn't know the odds before it come out, but came out 9-2 favourite. I was a bit reluctant then to go, am I going to go in? But I looked through the rest of the field and I just thought Strike Red has got the best form that I want to see on offer. And like you said, the only £4 higher from his win off a mark of 87 over course and distance. And his recent fourth at Hamilton in a Class 2 handicap, I thought was a step back in the right direction. I think getting back onto St Peter's, absolutely no problem. And he makes him quite interesting, I think. And at 92, look, he might be still value for people. With some firms, he's 4-1, so the money's coming with some people. So if you can get 92, I'd probably snap your hand off for that. And yes, Strike Red in the first for the both of us. So we'll move over to Newmarket, and their first race is the listed Empress Fillies Stakes over 6 furlongs. Frankie, we'll start with you on this one. Quite a nice event, I thought.
Yeah, no, it looks a good race. And there was nothing that really screamed out at me. And to be honest, there's a few like this as I look through the card. I'm playing for value more so on Saturday from what I've looked at across the weekend. I'm looking at Believing around 7-1. This horse's first start was behind Morge, who ran a very strong second at Ascot in what I think was a hot race. It was a decent race at Ascot. The third in that race did come out and finish last next time out, which isn't the best first of confidence. But Believing went on to win well enough on the next time. After not really having too much luck in running, still got the job done. And it looks like there's some improvement. This horse hasn't gone to a big race like Ascot and, followed the likes of Morge, and now comes into this, is it a listed race at Newmarket? Yeah. I think would be perfect. And to get an each way price, I think that'd be the way to play. But I think Believing's got to be in with a shout off of the form that she's shown. You're smiling, James, so I think you're following the same idea.
Yeah, I don't know what it is with me and you at the moment, but we've started on the same line. Yeah, Believing for me, and it was definitely a thing from a price point. 7-1, I think, is unbelievable value for this horse. Look, it looks a tricky race. You've got Minnetonka at the top of the market, 11-4. Richard Hannon. Richard Hannon's won this race 6 times. He obviously targets this race with some of his best horses, but at the prices 7-1, I think Believing could be one of my each way bets of the weekend, personally, for the reasons you just said. That form with Morge obviously went on to frank it. Morge did at Royal Ascot in the Group 3 Albany, and Believing got off the mark at Wolverhampton in a nice Fillies novice stakes. I think Believing did actually go into that race when it didn't come out the stalls or didn't run for some reason. But which if it's going for a race like that and was getting nibbled at just before the start of that race, and that looks a much better race than what this listed event is for me. I like to think 7-1's big value, and that's why Believing for me would be my bet in this. Paul, are you going to make it a hat trick, or are you going elsewhere?
I've gone elsewhere. I thought Minnetonka was very impressive, done nothing wrong, made all to win on racecourse debut. You'd have to be fairly, a young horse has to be pretty straight to make his own run, and you're using up a lot of energy, first day at school and whatnot. So she's done incredibly well. Now, there's 2 questions on that. You have to put an argument both sides. Where is the improvement going to come? Given that she was obviously very straight first time out, and secondly, well, if there is improvement, it's a first start. You can argue there's obviously more to come. And if that's the case, she could be quite frightening and a bit of value even at 5-2, 11-4. But the one I've gone with is Absolutely Flawless, who had a rough passage when finishing 4th and 9 at Beverley under William Buick last time out. But the run before that was a good winner at Chester over the 5 furlongs under Laura Pearson. Laura is back in the hot seat. I think she's a top-class rider here, given the ammunition. On paper, Absolutely Flawless, should stay to 6 furlongs, is a strong traveller, likes to be delivered late. I think the straight 6 will suit. Top jock on board, so it's Absolutely Flawless. A bit of value, around about the 12-14-1 mark.
Yeah, like you said, Laura Pearson, absolutely great jockey, and obviously dropped her claim now, hasn't she? And she's still being used by a lot of trainers, so that shows just how good she is. So yeah, Absolutely Flawless around 12-1, definitely got a chance. Moving back over to Newcastle for the third race we're going to cover, and it's one of their feature events of the afternoon in the Group 3 Chip Chase Stakes. Won by some nice horses throughout the years. Paul, we'll start with you on this one. Who did you land on?
I've gone with Glen Shiel, who I think is a 3-time course and distance winner. I thought a good draw in stall 9. Represent the top jockey trainer combination of Holly Doyle and Archie Watson. Glen Shiel was 4th in the Group 2 at the Curragh last time out, and I think can go close here around about the 6-1 mark. Yeah,
Glen Shiel, he looks solid, doesn't he? He's got some absolutely top class back form, class course and distance form, and currently around 11-2 as a look. He could be some serious value. The only problem is he's 8 years of age. Has he got that much improvement left in him? But he might just have enough class to see off some of these, mightn't he? Frankie, who did you go with in this one?
Yeah, same boat for similar reasons. You've got to notice that course and distance form. I know it does come back in 2020, but running to some high ratings, some high RPRs on the all-weather. And then the most recent form, although not in Newcastle, not on the all-weather, is strong enough. It's in group races, 2nd at Ascot, finished the season off last year with, and then came back with a 2nd at Haydock and a recent 4th at the Curragh. Very consistent at 6 furlongs. As Paul and I've said already, guess course distance just ticks a whole lot of boxes. And if you can get an each way price on a horse like that, I think you've got to go for it. A horse that just looks solid and you can play each way should hopefully at least be in the placings.
Yeah. As I said, I think he's a solid player. But all I will say, lads, just bear with me on this one because I've gone for a 40-1 shot. All right.
Oh, here we go.
40-1 shot. So this horse, it's called Anath for Mick Appleby. And this horse, I've tipped up a few times this year and hasn't run it as expected, but he's been in my tracker since the start of the year. And if I abandoned him at 40-1 and he won, I'd be absolutely kicking myself. So I'm going to stick with him. So a smart performer at the start of the year, winning 2 of his 3 events, both of them at Newcastle, and one of them come over course and distance. Looking to make it 3 out of 3 at the track. He finished a good 4th behind the likes of El Caballo, Tiber Flow, Space Cowboy. Have obviously gone on to running Group 1, Group 2s, and that was at the All-Weather Championships. He was moved back over to turf at Newmarket and ran below par in a good Class 2 handicap off a mark of 96. But then he was better over 7 furlongs at Goodwood. He's a very versatile horse, and that was behind Find, who's gone on to run into 2nd in the Jersey Stakes at Royal Ascot. And that was last seen back at 6 furlongs at York, being very consistent, finishing a close-up 5th of 19 in a Class 2 handicap. And I just think if improving for coming back for the all-weather at a track he absolutely loves at 40-1, he's drawn really well. I just thought I can take a chance on him at 40-1. He looks overpriced to me. If he was around 20-1 in the market, I'd be thinking, oh, that's a bit short. But 40-1, 33s, if you can get it, I think it could be a really, really good price. So back at Newmarket. Back at Newmarket on the Saturday, and the listed Fred Archer Stakes over 1 mile 4 is the next race we're going to cover. Frankie, who did you like in the field?
A tricky one, I thought. Universal Order for me, who won this race in 2020. Has had 2 more runs that year before then not racing until May this year. So a big old break for Universal Order, but doesn't really worry me considering came back and first start was amongst the likes of Al-Azi, Mandoom, Stowell, some top staying horses in the mix there. So, when you're running behind those top class horses after more than a year out of racing, I wouldn't really discount too much for that. And then next time out, 2nd in a handicap, carrying near top weight. So off the back of those 2, hopefully with some more improvement yet to come. As I said, after a big break without too much racing and having won this race previously, could get back to winning ways to do the same again. I think Universal Order.
Yeah, you can tell it's a tricky betting heat really, because you look 2-1 favourite, 10-3, 10-3, 7-2, and then you've got the rest like 11-1 outsider. But probably the top 4 in the market, it's very hard to split them. But Paul, I think you're of the same opinion of Frankie, aren't you? Universal Order for you?
Yeah, I am for the reasons Frankie mentioned. He's a hold-off performer. I think the small field will suit him. So hopefully it should be a bit more improvement, and I think if I do fancy Universal Order to take this.
Yeah, I'm gonna go against you both in this one, but I'm not gonna go with the obvious Charlie Appleby one. I'm gonna go for his 2nd string Kamari in this one. And I think, well, who am I to talk for William Buick? But I think he might have got this one wrong, and I think he should be on Kamari. The 4-year-old was very smart last year when given a trip to aim at, getting off the mark in emphatic style, I thought, at Yarmouth on just his 2nd start. He then went to Royal Ascot in the Group 2 Queen's Vase and went on to win that as well, which is obviously turned out to be quite a nice race in the past for stayers in the field. He ran no race in the Great Voltager, finishing 8th of 8th. He then bounced back to finish half a length 2nd to stablemate Manobo in the Group 2 Prix Chardonnay. He's been seen 3 times since then, below par in all of them. But his first run of the season, I thought, back this time around, he finished 4th. But if you have a look at the winning distances behind, he was half a length, 1.25 lengths. He wasn't too far behind. I just thought that race would have set him up absolutely perfectly for this about 12, 13 days ago. So I think he needed that run. He hadn't run since January the first time. I think Kamari around 10-3 in the market could be the play in this one for me. So next up, we go back over to Newcastle, and it's the first of the 2 mile events. It's the consolation race for the Northumberland play, which is the Northumberland Vase. Paul, we'll go with you first. Who's your selection in this one? Because this looks a toughie, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's wide open, and the tentative selection here is Catbird Seat for Alan King and Holly Doyle from stall number 8. Does like to go forward, so she's drawn well there to definitely sit prominent. Catbird Seat finished 3rd of 9 at Kempton back at the beginning of June. Prior to that was a good winner at Chepstow, 2 starts back. He's only having his career start number 20, so you'd imagine there should be more to come. There's relatively little miles on the clock, and like I said, represents the top team of Alan King and Holly Doyle. So it's catbird seat for me.
Yeah, definitely got a chance. Obviously, a very open betting heat. Frankie, who did you land on?
Yeah, you don't see many this tight in the market, do you? Top 9, 7s, 7s, 8s, 9s, 10s, 11s, 11s, 12s, 12s. The market shows that it's competitive, and it is when you have a look through. You've got to kind of find an angle and stick with you, haven't it? I'm going with Mellow Magic. Sorry, not Magic, Mellow Magic. A horse who just seems to have looked a lot better for going further, and has shown some improvement this year when going from 1 mile 3 up to 1 mile 6, a good second at Goodwood, and then the recent form around 2 miles reads 2, 2 and 3. Harry Davis takes 5 off, which could make the difference over that 2 mile trip. So again, I'm kind of going with that solid enough each way bet, should be in the mixer, will get the trip. It's been going well enough, is in good form. So yeah, not one for a big bet, but an each way play on Mellow Magic hopefully will be in the mixer.
Yeah, like you say, you could make a case for a lot of these, like in the market, to have an each way stab. And my each way punt in this one, a double figure price at the moment, is Zoffy. Formerly with Philip Hobbs over the jumps, after a poor run of form, was given to Hugo Palmer to run on the flats. And in both his runs today, has got just looked up that enthusiasm back for racing, just seemed to lose it when he was over the jumps, and just seemed to have it back. Maybe just a return to not going over stuff. I don't know. Maybe it was with the new yard. But he looks to have that enthusiasm back to me, and finished a fair third on debut at Salisbury for the yard over 14 furlongs. That set him up perfectly for his second handicap start at Carlisle, where he saw off a course specialist in Detective. The pair were 13 lengths clear of the third that day, so I like to think that's a good run. Only bumped up £3 for that by the handicapper off a mark of 84 for this. He still might be well in off his old handicap mark over hurdles and fences. And I thought of a mark of 84, around 11, 12 to 1 in the market. I thought Zoffy was worth an each way stab in this one, if continuing his good flat form he has so far. So the final event on ITV on Saturday from Newmarket is their feature Group 3 Criterion Stakes over 7 furlongs. Frankie, you can take it away to start with. Who are you going with?
Just making sure I've got this right, but I think I have. Lanikash looks like it's just been knocking on the door. And if you actually look at the form, won a debut at Ascot, and then since then has got seconds, a couple of seconds, a third, a fourth. Every single race has been a black type race. Every single race has been very competitive. And this horse hasn't been disgraced in any of them, just hasn't quite been good enough. And as you look through the field, there's a couple in here that are handicappers and a couple that, are trying their luck. And I think this might be Lanikash's chance to finally pick up a first and, get rather than in behind some good horses. And I think what's encouraging as well is if you look at this horse, fairly lightly raced, and then after a 246-day break comes back and records a decent enough second at Haydock, an RPR rating of 114. I think everything kind of swings in Lanikash's favour to go and do the business here. I just double checking again, a second behind Pogo last time out, but Pogo's a bit more race fit on that day. And as I said, Lanikash was coming back from a break, so I'd fancy the form to reverse there.
Yeah, Lanikash definitely got a shout. Paul, you on the same opinion?
Yeah, I'm with Lanikash. The pair had Sunray and Major back in third. I can't see, for the reasons Frankie mentioned, I think Lanikash will turn that form around with Pogo, and I think I can't see make a case for Sunray Major to finish ahead of the pair. And Lanikash as well was second in the Group 2 Hungerford Stakes at Newbury last season. I think on that run with match fitness, he takes the beating here, doesn't he?
See, well, this is where I've got to make my case for Sunray Major, isn't it? Because this
I knew that was coming.
I do like Sunray Major, and what I do like about this horse, and especially I'll talk about when he comes to his last race, why I think he can reverse the form with Pogo and Lanikash. I think this horse has got bundles of ability, and I just don't think we've seen the best of Sunray Major yet. I thought when he first started and he came out, he won that big 17-runner handicap at Ascot. I thought, we could have a really special horse here, and he hasn't kicked on from there. And I just think back at 7 furlongs like he was last time out, I don't think he got the clearest race. I think when he was pulled out to ask for his challenge, he took ages to get going. And when he got going, he was absolutely flying home. And I think if he had 50 to 100 more yards, and he'd have won the race. That's me personally. But if we go through all its form, winning on debut back in June 2020, like Lanarcash, is a very lightly raced horse. That was over a mile at Newmarket. Back as a 4-year-old, he ran 3 times, winning at Chelmsford, won that 17-run handicap at Ascot, and then he was absolutely backed off the boards to win the Balmoral and ran no race at all. First 2 runs this term, he struggled to mix it with the best, I thought. Group 2 bet 365 mile and the Group 1 lock-ins, very tough races. Obviously, Baid winning the lock-ins and the Group 2 bet 365 mile, always a tricky event. But like I said, back at last time, and I know he's behind Pogo, I know he's behind Kim Ross, behind Lanarcash. It was a 4-way photo. I thought 100 more yards, he'd have won the race. And I just think if you get a bit closer to the pace here, and when Lanarcash went, Sunray Major was stuck in the mud. And I just think if Sunray Major goes at a similar time to Lanarcash, I think that's where the difference will lie. So the big race of the afternoon on ITV is the Northumberland Plate from Gosford Park. Trushan looking to give away, I think it's £19 to his closest rated rival in the field. Paul, are you with Trushan or are you against him for obvious reasons?
I'm against him. I think he's enough weight on his back, and I just think it's riding standard to slow Newcastle. It's going to have to be pretty slow. I think, as we mentioned earlier in conversation before we came on air, James, that I think the old Southwell would suit Trushan a lot better than the current Newcastle. So I'd be looking elsewhere for a bit of value. I think Summer's Night gets a tentative nod here for Sir Mark Prescott, who's been pretty quiet by his standards, I think. Luke Morris takes the mount, rated 96, carries a handy weight of 8 stone 12, and is nicely drawn in stall number 5. Was last seen finishing 5th to 6 over a mile and 6 at Newmarket. That was his first run of the season, so again, there should be more to come. Last season yielded wins at Haydock, Foss, Lassie, Yarmouth, Bath and Doncaster, albeit they were in small fields, so you just don't know. The hustle and bustle of a big field might just put him off stride somewhat, but he is a horse that does like to be dropped in, so he will need a little bit of luck. I'm going to side with Summer's Night here, but as an alternative, Spirit Mixer could be an interesting alternative for Andrew Balding and Callum Hutchinson, but I'll be investing in the Sir Mark Prescott train Summer's Night.
Yeah, Sir Mark Prescott is known, isn't he, for landing gambles and stuff like that.
Absolutely, yeah.
You can just see this horse being one of them, being set up for this race, being a lovely price, and you can see it throughout the day being backed and backed and backed. And if you're right, if he gets a bit of cover and gets a nice spin round, Summer's Night could be there come the end. And currently around 16, 18 to 1 to lovely price. Frankie, who did you go with in this one?
I'm going with Island Brave, around 18 to 1 as I look at it now. This is a race for bragging rights, really, isn't it? If you can find a winner in this lot. Island Brave actually had a crack at this race back in 2021, so last year, 4th last year. They stuck a claimer on that day. And then if you look how this horse finished up last year, I wouldn't quite know why, but a lot of racing over 1 mile 4 and outpaced a few times. Definitely looks a better horse for 2 miles. Recently at Ascot, I think they might have fancied their chances that day over 1-6. Was unlucky in the running. D'Souza was booked. And off the back of that, coming here only £2 higher. Actually, no, retains the same mark for just coming 10th at Ascot. They've stuck a £5 claimer on in De La Soya. He went it's a decent booking, but and I think that after coming 4th last year with a claim on, and then going to that race at Ascot, being unlucky there, maybe they're just fancying their chance off the same mark. Is kind of my way of thinking. Whether or not they plan to, who knows? But to go to Ascot, be unlucky, and then come into this handicap off 98, got to have a fair chance.
Yeah, see, I've got 2 in this race, and one of them is Island Brave. And if you looked at the bare form of his recent runs, you'd think, why the hell are we putting this horse up? But like you said, he's a stayer that will definitely stay the trip. He's been tumbling down the weights, and he sees himself £1 higher than his last winning mark of 97. He's 3rd in this race last year for a mark of 100. Was smart enough for me. He's a course and distance winner off that £1 lower than he is today. I just thought if he got back to anywhere near his best, and it looks like there could be, he might be a horse that just comes good around June, July time. I thought Island Brave for marker 98 around 18, 20 to 1. I thought could be a big each way player. The one I would play from a win perspective would be the Andrew Balding trained Valley Forge. I do worry slightly about the draw, but I think this horse is good enough to overcome it. He looks a very progressive stayer, very unexposed at the 2 mile trip, and off a marker 93 could still be very useful. He won 2 events last year as a 3-year-old, back to back. Firstly at Foster over 12 furlongs and up to 14 furlongs at York in the prestigious Melrose Handicap, which he threw out a superb performance that day. Seen twice this season, needed his debut run at Newmarket over 1 mile 6 in a decent Class 2 handicap. But then he improved massively for that at Haydock when just seen off Golden Flame by a head. Only up £4 for that run. Think he will take to the all-weather service, no problem. It's just the draw for me, and currently around 6-7 to 1. I think Valley Forge looks a nice price to me in this race, and I think it's got a big chance. But I'm going to Dutch it with Island Brave as well, about 20 to 1. So, lads, that's everything for the UK races we're going to cover on ITV for Saturday. It's now the big talking point of the Curragh for Saturday and Sunday. So probably the best racing of the weekend coming from Ireland. And like Paul mentioned off air before, it's been lovely in Ireland, but the rain could potentially come for the Saturday and the Sunday. So I would look out for maybe some good to soft ground by the time. As we're recording, that's obviously good to firm, but we're going to have to look ahead for that. We're going to start with the Group 2 Railway Stakes over 6 furlongs on the Saturday. Paul, we'll let you have a crack at this one first.
I'm going to take a chance on the Johnny Murtagh trained Shartash. Ben Cohen takes the mount. Shartash, I thought, won well at Naas last time out, just getting the job done. Does lack the experience of both Blackbeard and Crispy Cat, but is trained by a master, is trained at the Curragh also. And I'd imagine this could have been a target from some time ago. So I think Shartash can take the beating here.
Yeah, I think Johnny Murtagh is going to have a really good Saturday and Sunday. He's got some nice runners in some of the handicaps. And obviously, if he won this race, he would top it all off. But I'm going to go against you here. I'm going to stick with the proven form of Blackbeard. 270,000 guineas purchase, son of No Nay Never. He's been very smart in all 4 of his runs to date, making his debut in April over 5 furlongs at Dundalk and winning nicely. Kept over the same trip. He was sent to the Curragh and managed to see off Crispy Cat, who he re-opposes here, and that was in a listed event by a short head. Looking to make it 3 out of 3. He beat the really likeable Tough Talk for Girl Lions by close to 4 lengths. That was one of his most impressive performances to date. Obviously, last time out, he was sent to Royal Ascot, and he was a really good 4th of 17 in the Group 2 Commentary Stakes, a race that always churns out winners. And I thought behind some nice horses last time out, if none the worse for that run, should resume back to winning ways. So yeah, Blackbeard for me.
I'm in agreement, James. I think you got to stick with the form of Blackbeard, and you couldn't be writing him off just after that 4th at Ascot, which I don't think was disappointing at all. He's got the Curragh form. He's got the form over Crispy Cat. The winner came from the other side at Ascot, and he still ran a decent race into 4th, and doesn't look like it would have took too much out of him that race. So I think Blackbeard is solid enough as a 15 to 8 favourite.
Yeah, definitely got a big chance, Blackbeard. So the feature race of the weekend on the flat racing calendar is the Group 1 Irish Derby, where a stellar field of 8 runners go to post. Frankie, we'll start with you on this one. Who do you fancy?
This is the obvious choice, isn't it? But sometimes obvious plays out. I'm gonna go with Westover. I know that Tuesday's coming to the race and has actually pipped Westover in the market, which I'm quite surprised about. I think a Derby third that probably should have came second versus an Oaks winner that probably should have came second would be at least evenly matched, if not Westover would be shorter in the market. But Aidan O'Brien, obviously, he's the genius that he is, and has entered Tuesday and comes here with a fair chance. But I'm going to stick with Westover. Look, unlucky, as everybody knows, in the Derby, unlucky in the running, finished the race really, really strongly. Everybody's kind of eyes on Westover to see what he does next time out. And I think this is, the chance to maybe put that Derby run right. A bit of a shame for Rob not getting the ride here, but that's another talking point. But horse-wise, I think Westover, yeah. I'm going to stick with the obvious choice off the back of that Derby run.
Yeah, I'm with you, Westover. Look, he might be the obvious choice, but I just think this horse goes and wins. I think his run in the Derby was exceptional, really, behind Desert Crown, from hitting a lot of traffic in running to then switching out and then having its run and not finishing that far behind Desert Crown at all. Another factor that might go his way is if the rain does come at the Curragh, he won't mind it at all. He will be one of the horses that won't mind it. He's got proven winning on good to soft. And he's also finished second at Pontefract on soft, so he gets quite deep there. Yeah, Westover for me. Another thing, Tuesday, I've got a lot of respect for Tuesday, but drawn in stall 1 is not ideal at all unless you get out quick and sharp. And the way Tuesday's ran recently, it has been coming out the pack. So, yeah, I'm happy to play Westover at 6-4 in the Irish Derby. Paul, who are you going for?
I've gone for another alternative who won't mind the ground if it comes up soft, which I think it will. I've gone with the David Minuccia trained lineup. Jamie Spencer's on board. David Minuccia is pretty confident in Thursday's Racing Post. I thought Lionel battled on gamely to win a listed event at Goodwood on soft ground when last seen. Yes, he will need to improve again to take this, but I think there's very little mileage on the clock. Comes here relatively fresh, should like the ground, and I think Lionel can play a role here at a bit of a price.
So the final event of the podcast we're going to cover from the Curragh on the Sunday is the Group 1 Pretty Polly Stakes over 1 mile 2 for fillies and mares. Paul, we'll start with you. Who takes this one?
I think if we get a fit Le Petit Coco from the Paddy Toomey stable, I think she can take this. She's a Group 2 and a Group 3 winner last season. She's won on good ground. She's won on soft ground. It is her first run of the season, like I said. But I think if she's pretty straight, I think Le Petit Coco can take this.
Yeah, Frankie, I think you're of the same opinion, aren't you, with Le Petit Coco?
I am, yeah. This horse had a couple of entries throughout the week at Ascot, and I was putting her up at Ascot around kind of like your 30s, but obviously never made it there. Now coming here, obviously back to the Curragh where she's won before, beat Love at the Curragh, which is strong form. And as Paul said, versatile ground-wise, so there's no real issues. Obviously, hasn't raced in a long time. September 2021 was her last race, but if she can come here fit and fighting, which I'm sure she will. If there was a couple of entries at Ascot, they're obviously, they've been waiting to get this horse right. So I think the fact that maybe they didn't go to Ascot probably suggests and works in the favour that actually now they are ready to rock and roll. So La Petite Coco, yeah, for myself as well.
Yeah, I do respect that horse a lot. It's just a fitness thing for me. She might come back and be absolutely brilliant like she was last season, but I'm going to go for one that's got a bit of fitness under the belt, and that's Above the Curve for Joseph O'Brien, a nice daughter of American Pharaoh, who's got some top-class form this season. Made a winning seasonal debut over 1 mile 2 at Leopardstown in a maiden. She then went to Chester and was very unlucky loser, I thought, that day. Maybe didn't get the best ride in the world in the Cheshire Oaks, was just beaten by Thoughts of June. But she put that all behind her at Paris Longchamp last time out when landing first Group 1 of her career in the Prix Saint Allery by a length. But it was quite decisive length, I thought. In the end, she was going away. And look, I know this is a hot race again, but I just thought she's progressing, she's improving, she's got a lot of scope to be a very, very nice horse. So Above the Curve for me on the Sunday. So lads, just to finish off, can I have your nap, please, of the weekend? And we'll start with Frankie. We'll start with you this time.
Oh, you know what? I might even finish up with La Petite Coco. Either Glen Shield as an each-way bet. I think that's a very, very solid each-way bet. There's nothing that I would be kind of like napping as a win, really. So I'm going to be a bit soft this week and say Glen Shield each way, or Glen Shield as a place bet should be in the frame. So maybe just take the place bet and try and find essentially a winner there.
Yeah, that's fine. He looks absolutely solid as a place bet. Paul, for yourself?
I think Lanicash in the 3:15 at Newmarket on Saturday, I think will take the beating. And I think at a bit of a price, a bit more of Walkerman's price, I think absolutely flawless. I think should go close in that 205 also at Newmarket.
And for myself, I'm going to go in the big one in the Irish Derby. I'm going to go for Westover. I can't see this lad getting beat for the reasons we spoke about. I like Tuesday drawn in stall 1 against him. And I just think the galloping track at the Curragh, even with if it comes soft, will be absolutely perfect for him. So Westover for me in the Irish Derby. So lads, that's it for this week. Episode 34, that is now, of the Weighing Room. We've covered a lot over the Saturday and Sunday, and hopefully we've found some winners. Please be sure to like this video, comment your selections for the weekend below, and subscribe to Wheels Enclosure channel. We show every Thursday another fun bits of content to get stuck into across the channel. So cheers, lads, and hopefully we have a profitable week.